Greetings, candidates, and welcome back to the lesson. The subject is meetings. We are going to study the legal provisions regarding convening and management of board and committee meetings. Now, this is lesson number 8 under the topic board and committee meetings. And this lesson on legal provisions is similar to the one we studied in our last session, which is requisites of valid board and committee meetings. By studying the requisites of valid board and committee meetings, we were somehow analyzing the legal provisions regarding convening and management of board and committee meetings. So lesson number 7 and number 8 are substantially the same thing, because the governance of board and committee meetings is anchored on a legal framework comprising the Companies Act and the company's internal constitutive documents like the Articles of Association and also the board charter. The provisions also may depend on the recognized governance standards, such as governance standard number 002, which we studied in topic number 3. 002 is on meetings of the board. So if you are to consider some of the legal provisions, candidates, we'll be looking at the legal authority, which we covered in our last session. To have one requisite of a valid board meeting is having the power, first of all, to convene a board meeting. If a meeting is to be held, if a valid meeting is to be held, then not just anyone can call a meeting. There is what we call legal authority. The power to convene a board is typically vested in the chairman of the board. However, the company secretary is also legally obligated to convene a meeting if requested by a director. So when studying these legal provisions, let me just put them down, because there's nothing wrong in repetition. We always say that we learn by repetition. So there is number 1, legal authority. Legal authority, there is the authority to convene. Authority to convene. I've said it is the chairman of the board that has the authority to convene a meeting, though the company secretary may also convene a meeting when requested by any director. Notice requirements. There is also legal provision on notice requirement. A meeting cannot be held without or before sending a notice to those who are to attend. A notice must be given to every director, and while specific articles may vary, it is a standard practice to provide at least 7 to 14 days notice for board meetings, unless otherwise agreed by all directors in case of an emergency. Notice requirement. Notice requirement. Then there is also the methods of notice. Methods of notice. How do you send the notice? A notice can be served personally. It can be served by post. It can be served by email or any other electronic mode authorized by the company's constitution. So that is the legal provisions on legal authority. Then number 2, we have quorum and constitution. Quorum and constitution. By constitution here we mean the constitution of the meeting, how the meeting is to be constituted. Now, if the meeting is properly authorized, a proper notice is given, and it is sent to those who are to attend, then during the meeting there has to be a quorum. That is a legal provision. There has to be what we call statutory presumption. Statutory presumption. statutory resumption. Statutory resumption. What does that mean? Now, no business can be legally translated or transacted without a quorum. If a meeting is not properly constituted, any resolution passed in that meeting is not enforceable. Number 2, there is quorum size. This quorum refers to the minimum number of members who are required to attend the meeting. The exact number is defined in the Articles of Association, but is typically at least 1/3 of the board members. And when talking about constitution, there has to be the conflict of interest is a very important legal provision. A director who has a personal interest in an agenda item cannot be counted toward the quorum for that specific item and must recuse themselves from both the discussion and also the vote. That is a provision on conflict of interest. Then moving on to the third legal provision is conduct of business. Conduct of business. Conduct of business. Now, in conducting business, there has to be what we call simultaneous participation. Simultaneous participation. Simultaneous participation is a legal provision, especially where the meeting is virtual or hybrid. For virtual and hybrid meetings, the law requires that all participants be able to hear and speak to each other in real time. And the secretary must ensure that the technology used is secure and allows for valid identification and verification of attendees. Moving on, under conduct of business, number 2, there is what we call agenda and board papers. Agenda and board papers. The meeting has to be conducted according to the agenda. To ensure informed decision making, a key fiduciary duty. Okay, that is a key fiduciary duty. Informed decision making is a fiduciary duty. To ensure that fiduciary duty, directors must be provided with the detailed agendas and supporting papers, often called board pack. And that has to be done well in advance, typically 7 days before the meeting, 7 to 10 days prior. Transparency, number 3. Transparency, number 3. The meeting must follow a clear protocol. The meeting, for example, must have welcoming remarks, right? Confirming the quorum, declaring conflicts of interest before the meeting begins, confirming previous minutes, and addressing the substantive agenda. So before you address the substantive agenda, there has to be welcoming remarks, confirming previous minutes. The directors who have conflicting interests, they have to declare the conflicts of interest. And that's what we are referring to as transparency. So this is point number 3. Point number 4, we have what we call record keeping. Number 4, record keeping. Record keeping is a legal obligation. Candidates, you are studying the legal provisions regarding convening and management of board meetings. Record keeping is a legal obligation. Under Section 210 of the Companies Act, the record keeping process is a strict legal requirement. So the proceedings have to be recorded. Recording proceedings. Recording proceedings. This has to be done so that the secretary who records the proceedings catches the sense of the meeting. It doesn't have to be in verbatim. Minutes must be kept for all board and committee proceedings. Then there is the retention period. Retention period. After recording the meetings, they have to be retained. These minutes must be maintained for at least 7 years from the date of the meeting. Then there is also authentication. Authentication means once approved by the board, minutes must be signed by the chairperson to serve as a conclusive evidence in a court of law. In a court of law. And failure to keep these records is a criminal offense, rendering the company and the defaulting director liable to a fine of up to 500,000 shillings. And that's the end of our today's lesson on legal provisions regarding convening and management of board and committee meetings. We began by studying the legal authority. There has to be authority to convene the meeting. Notice is required, and then there is methods of sending out the notice. Quorum and constitution, there is what we call statutory presumption. Has to be a provision on quorum size and also conflict of interest. Then during the conduct of business, there has to be simultaneous participation. Is the agenda and board papers must be sent to the members well in advance, 7 to 10 days before the meeting. Then, of course, there is provision on transparency. Lastly, we've analyzed the record keeping as a legal provision. The meetings, proceedings have to be recorded, they have to be retained, then they have to be authenticated. Thank you for attending the lesson. God bless you. Bye-bye.